Dmitry Bivol is one of the most skilled boxers of the generation. He is well known for his Soviet style of boxing, which consists of good footwork and 1-2 combinations. So far he has defeated Canelo Alvarez, Beterbiev and Ramirez, who are all really good at boxing, and Canelo arguably being one of the best boxers of all time. In this video we'll take a look at Dmitry Bivol's fighting style and some of his training methods towards the end. To start off, Dmitry Bivol is from Russia and he started boxing at the age of 6. After training for many years, he had an amateur record of 268 wins and 15 losses, which is one of the best amateur records in boxing. Most boxers that are from countries influenced by the Soviet Union have a lot more fights compared to any other amateur boxer. Alright, now that we're done covering Bivol's background, let's move on to the first thing that makes Bivol good at boxing. The first thing that makes Bivol so good is his footwork. Dmitry Bivol is more of a long-range boxer who's really good at moving in and out. We all know that the Soviet style emphasizes on hitting without getting hit, and Bivol is a great example.
The main thing about Soviet boxing style is челнок, when you are moving in and out.
He uses the balls of his feet to bounce back and forth. Using the balls of your feet or staying on your toes makes your foot like a spring. As you see in the video, whenever he's closing in or falling back, he's always on his toes, kind of like Manny Pacquiao. Another exceptional thing about his footwork is that he's really good at falling back while throwing boxing combinations. This is something a lot of people lack at boxing. The best way to box while falling back is staying on your toes, since you can counterpunch whenever you need to. Back in the Canelo fight, doing this gave him the ability to avoid power shots from Canelo, because Canelo puts a lot of forward pressure and almost always comes with a punch that can knock you out. As you see in the clip, whenever he's backing off against Canelo, he's either using his lead hand or a basic footwork with 1-2 combination. To get better at the pendulum step, the best drills are shadow boxing and ladder drills, where you move in and out the ladder while moving sideways at the same time. And whenever you're shadow boxing, learn how to fall back while throwing boxing combinations. Alright, now that we're done covering the foundation of his fighting style, let's move on to the next thing that makes Bivol good at boxing. It's his ability to maintain distance. Usually in most of his fights he keeps the lead hand slightly forward. This is a common tactic to land jabs faster, since it has less distance to cover, or he uses a basic 1-2 to get away. His ability to combine a 1-2 with in and out movement is very useful to control distance in a fight. The next thing that makes Bivol really good at boxing is a jab and accuracy. Dmitry Bivol has one of the best jabs in boxing as of right now, and it's quite accurate compared to most boxers. It's not too fast or anything, but what makes it really good is the timing of the jab. One thing you'll notice is that he usually lands a jab whenever his opponents are done throwing a boxing combination. The reason behind it is that they get tired and end up dropping their guard slightly. For his accuracy, as you can see in the video, most of his punches end up landing well despite his opponent having a high guard. In the second fight against Beterbiev, Bivol landed less punches and most of them ended up connecting, while Beterbiev landed a lot of punches and none of them ended up connecting. Most of them just ended up getting blocked by Bivol's high guard. His ability to land jabs and be accurate with his punches is something that makes him win by a decision all the time. Not to mention that he has a lower knockout rate compared to guys like Beterbiev or Canelo, meaning he has to rely on a decision a lot of his fights. His jab and accuracy also helps him break through high guards, which is a really hard thing to do, especially when fighting someone with good defense and durability. And most people at 175 have a strong guard, and Bivol really isn't a hard puncher. That's what makes him good. He tries to find an opening instead of just trying to smash the guard with power shots. Now let's move on to the next thing that makes Dmitry Bivol so good at boxing. It's his defense and durability. So far, as of right now, he's never been knocked out in about 24 professional fights. This clearly indicates that he does not have a glass chin. He's taken shots from Canelo and Beterbiev, who punch really hard, and he didn't really wobble as much. As for his defense, Bivol likes to maintain a high guard. He keeps his hand close to his face and tucks his elbows in to protect himself from body shots. Being a tall fighter, his body is more vulnerable, which makes it crucial. Another thing that makes Dmitry Bivol so good at boxing is his lead hook. Bivol has more of a unique lead hook, similar to most Soviet boxers. For example, a normal hook usually goes in a straight angle, but Bivol keeps his elbows a little higher and then the punch goes slightly downwards. As you see in the video, his hands look very light and the hook can be used for long range and is slightly faster than normal. This is better for creating angles, although a lot of power is lost. I've personally tried it for 2 years, but I think this is better only when falling back, since it can be used for long range at the same time. But the difference is minimal. You might just gain some speed at the cost of a little power. Now let's move on to the last two things that makes Bivol so good at boxing. It's his ring IQ and experience. Bivol is one of the smartest boxers, and his main goal is to be accurate instead of just trying to be a knockout machine. He has things like good footwork, ability to control distance, and unique boxing combinations and accuracy to win. But he gained the ring IQ through a lot of amateur boxing experience. Bivol had an amateur record of 268 wins and 15 losses, which is a really good amateur record considering that he has more than 10 times more wins than his loss. Alright, now that we're done covering Bivol's fighting style, let's move on to his training methods and routine. So the first part of his training is road work. The Soviet style in general requires a lot of stamina since you have to keep moving the entire fight, bouncing back and forth. It's one of the reasons why a lot of boxers don't use this style. Like pretty much any other boxer, Bivol spends a lot of his time running to increase stamina. Now let's move on to the next part of Dmitry Bivol's training, which is strength and conditioning. Strength and conditioning is one of the best ways to stay in shape and increase power and muscle. His strength training consists of landmine press, boss slams, and core workouts like crunches and leg raises. It's more of plyometrics than actual weightlifting, but he does incorporate squats, bench press, and deadlifts with lighter weights to build muscle and retain strength. A lot of punching power comes from core, shoulders, and legs, so his main focus is training those muscles. Alright, let's move on to the next part of his training, which is mitt work. By now, we know that Dmitry Bivol has very good accuracy in combinations, and mitt work is one of the best ways to practice hard combos and increase accuracy at the same time since you have a smaller target to hit. Also, one of the best parts about mitt work is that his coach can adjust the mitts depending on what he lacks. It could be speed, stamina, defense, slipping, or footwork. Anyways, it's a great drill to work anything since the pads are constantly moving. Now let's move on to the next part of Bivol's training, which is bag work. Bag work helps increase stamina, punching power, and he can also build his own unique boxing combinations on the heavy bag. The next part of his training is shadow boxing. Shadow boxing is by far one of the most important drills in boxing since he can do it anywhere and at any time. His shadow boxing mainly focuses on visualizing an opponent in front of him and practicing basic combos like 1, 2, 3 and using the lead hand better. It's also one of the best ways to warm up before and after training. Additionally, he uses resistance bands or dumbbells to increase speed and strengthen shoulders. Now let's move on to the second last part of his training, which is a double end bag. Double end bags can help improve hand-eye coordination and help with timing. Bivol spends a few minutes a day on the double end bag or the reflex bag. Now let's move on to the last and the most important part of Dmitry Bivol's training, which is sparring. Sparring is by far the closest thing to a fight. I get that 16-ounce gloves, but sparring is where you test out what you've learned instead of just trying to dominate. So far, we know that Bivol sparred many boxers in his weight class, including David Benavidez. Sparring helps him gain experience and he can master whatever he's learned so he can apply it in a fight. According to my estimation, he probably spars anywhere from around 1 to 3 times a week. Of course, there's things like diet and recovery. To keep it simple, it's going to be 8 hours of sleep with most of his food being protein and healthy stuff. Diet and recovery isn't that complicated, maybe some sunlight or ice baths for recovery. So yeah, that's it for the video.